Hey, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
I need to learn things in this world. We all need ways that we can learn valuable lessons.
Right.
And I think that you have discovered, this is obviously our Bible episode.
Right.
And you've discovered a way to learn something in the Bible that exists in the Bible.
And I think, from time to time we try out different ideas for this show, and I thought it might be fun for us to talk about the parables of Jesus in a segment we will call Parabullshit.
Yeah.
So
either that or the terrible parables.
The terrible parables.
One of the two.
Take your pick. We'll do an internet poll.
Yeah, exactly.
See what wins. So the parables of Jesus are, to most Christians, the most sublime, so to speak, part of the Bible.
They're the most important thing we've got.
It's the actual words of Jesus.
Yeah.
Teaching a lesson.
The great rabbi,
right?
The gallant teacher,
yes.
The most important human ever to walk the face of the earth.
Correct. And it's not him. It's not somebody telling a story about him. It's not the narrative of him going somewhere and doing something. This is Jesus teaching the lessons that we are supposed to use to live our lives.
This is red letter shit in
That's
the Bible.
Right. This is mainlining the gospel here.
All right, I'm ready. I'm excited actually. Tingly.
There are 32 parables in total in the Bible.
Okay.
And a parable is just a short story.
These are 32 of Jesus' parables.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
There are other parables, but the ones that don't come out of Jesus himself.
Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
There are 32 parables. They're all in the books of Matthew, Luke, and Mark.
Okay.
There's none in John, which is interesting.
John was not a parable guy.
Yeah, we can talk about John another time. Fuck that guy. And so I thought, let's attack this kind of chronologically and start with the first parable.
Okay.
Which comes out of the book of Luke.
Yeah.
And it's in chapter 7, verses 36 to 50.
Okay.
And there's pieces of this parable that I recognized right away when I read it, that I'm sure, anyone who's spent any time in Sunday school will remember.
Sure.
And basically, it's the parable of the two debtors.
Okay.
Now, some of the parables that we'll tackle later on are very impenetrable and very strange.
Yeah.
And the morality is very difficult to tease out of it.
If there is any morality to tease.
Correct. So this one is pretty simple and small, but it's the first one.
Okay.
So,
Number one.
Jesus goes to the house of a Pharisee to have dinner with him and teach him. Now, the Pharisees were like the Jewish clergy at the time, and they weren't all evil, even if you have seen Mel Gibson's The Passion.
Right.
Some of them were actually okay. And so Jesus, before he, this is kind of early in his ministry, he encounters this Pharisee, and they go to his house to have dinner.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, and this is the part you probably recognize. A woman enters, sees that Jesus is there, and she enters and she brings an alabaster box of ointment,
which when I go to somebody's place for dinner, I always hope some chick is going to pop out from somewhere and go, ointment?
In an alabaster box.
Anybody need any ointment? How about a balm?
The New Testament is just steeped in goop, isn't it? So she brings this alabaster box of ointment, expensive ointment. This woman is a sinner. It makes clear to call her out as a sinner.
Okay,
and then
as opposed to everybody else that's so great.
Right. And this, you remember this, she gets down on her hands and knees. She cries on Jesus' feet, uses her tears and her hair to wipe and clean his feet.
Wow.
Which, again...
You know what? Use the ointment.
Right.
Well, the tears is...
Yep.
You're not going to get enough.
She cleans his feet, and then she puts the ointment on the feet and kisses them.
Sure. It's like mentholatum.
Right.
Is what it is.
Can you imagine the stank that must have been on, a guy's feet in Jerusalem?
Well, now it's on her hair.
Right?
That's going to be nice.
And so, washing of the feet was a very humble thing. Jesus later did it to his apostles. But doing it with your hair and your eyes, your tears is...
let's be real for just a second. Nobody cries that much.
I know, right?
Like you produce a little moisture out of your face holes, but it's not enough. Like she must have been spitting too, just like secretly.
I remember when E.T. died, and I cried very... Oh, shit, spoilers.
E.T. didn't die?
Well, he came back.
Okay, fine.
But
you thought he was dead. It's
spoilers, everybody.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
If you don't know about E.T. by now.
So now the Pharisee sees this woman wash his feet and says, okay, you can't be a prophet because if you were, you would know that this woman is a whore and would have never let her touch your feet.
Huh.
Which is this seems like kind of a story that was made up.
Yeah. You think?
So here Jesus begins his parable, and he says, there was a creditor that had 2 debtors. One owed him 500 pence, the other 50. I didn't bother looking up what a pence was and how much its modern equivalent was.
It's 14 shekels to a pence.
Exactly. But one guy owed him 500, one guy owed him 50.
Okay.
Both debtors were unable to pay, so the creditor forgave them both.
Okay.
And then Jesus asked the Pharisee which of these 2 would love the creditor more.
Oh, okay.
Right? What do you think the answer to that would be?
Wash my hair with your wash my feet with your hair?
The Pharisee says, well, of course the guy who had the bigger debt would love the creditor more. And
Sure.
Jesus says, I agree. So then Jesus says to the Pharisee, do you see this woman? I entered your house and you gave me no water for my feet, no kiss, no oil for my head. Again, why would you need to oil your head?
Look. Don't this. Now you're just shitting on custom.
Okay.
I've been to your house a few times now, Doug. You've never given me head oil.
That you know of. Just sneak up behind you with an eyedropper. Bloop. But you didn't give me anything for my head, no water for my feet, no kiss. But she washed my feet with her tears, kissed them, and put ointment on them. And then he turns to her and says, therefore her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little.
Okay. Like, if you haven't... Okay, so wait. I'm going to parse this out as best I can. If you haven't sinned enough, then when you're forgiven, you don't feel as powerful a love for God. So basically, the moral of the story is you've got to sin a lot so that when you're forgiven, you love the Lord even more.
I guess. I mean, that's the best. That's what I take out of this.
That has to be the conclusion.
So, what is the reward for living a kind of sinless life?
Well, we're going to talk about that.
That's true. Yeah. So that's basically it. Jesus tells her that her sins are forgiven and that thy faith have saved thee. Go in peace. And that is the parable of the 2 debtors. I mean, it's nice that he forgave the debtors, and it's nice that Jesus forgave the woman. But to your point, I feel like the moral of the story is the bigger you sin, the better you're going to feel about it when Jesus
when they forgives you. So fucking get out there and sin, people. Jesus wants it.
Get on it.
Just be sure you get your hair ready to get stanky, because you're going to have some foot stank on you.
Some foot stank.
For a minute. It just lasts a second, and then you're going to be good to go.
Right. So I mean, there again, it's a short one, but it's the first one, and right out of the gate, we're kind of morally ambiguous here.
Yeah, I love it. Let's move on.
Moving on.